My name is Claire. I'm 43, divorced, and I live in a quiet neighborhood in the foothills outside Asheville, North Carolina. My house is modest, 2 bedrooms, a little garden in the back, a wraparound porch I painted myself one summer. I teach creative writing at the community college a few miles away. Most evenings, you'll find me barefoot with a glass of wine in one hand, a book in the other, and a playlist of old Norah Jones songs drifting from the open window. My life isn't glamorous. It's not filled with wild parties or exotic trips or Instagrammable brunches. But it's mine. For a long time, I thought that was enough. But it wasn't. And I didn't know that until he returned my book. I met Luke when he was still in high school, living next door with his parents. I remember the day they moved in. I had just planted azaleas along the front walkway, sweating in my old college t-shirt and cut-off jeans, when a U-Haul truck pulled up next door. He jumped out of the passenger side, lanky and grinning, his arm draped around a golden retriever's neck like they were lifelong partners in crime. Luke was polite. Sweet. The kind of boy who said ma'am without sarcasm and offered to carry your groceries before you even asked. Over the years, he became a familiar figure, skateboarding past my driveway, helping his dad rake leaves, waving as he pulled into the driveway from school or work. I always thought of him as the nice kid next door. But kids don't grow into men overnight. Sometimes, they grow slowly, silently, until one day, you look up and realize the boy next door has a jawline, biceps, and eyes that linger too long. That's what happened with Luke. I didn't notice it at first. Or maybe I didn't want to. There's something about being a divorced woman in your 40s that makes you wary of your own desire. Society teaches you that romance belongs to the young. That longing is a language you're supposed to forget after a certain age. So when Luke started borrowing books, I thought it was sweet. He'd knock on my door in the early evenings after work, asking if I had anything by Vonnegut, or Murakami, or Atwood. I always did. We'd talk for a few minutes, about literature, about his classes, about the latest show he'd binge-watched, and then he'd head back across the lawn with a paperback under his arm. And I'd tell myself it was nothing. That he was just being neighborly. That the way he looked at me, like I was a mystery he wanted to solve, was just my imagination. Until one night, it wasn't. I had given him my favorite copy of Persuasion. Not because he asked, but because I wanted to share something meaningful. That book had notes in the margins, passages underlined, even a pressed rose petal between pages 214 and 215 from a date that felt like a different lifetime. Be gentle with it, I had told him. That book's older than both of us. He smirked. I'll treat it better than some men treat their girlfriends. That made me laugh. Nervous. Curious. Alive. He kept it for nearly 2 weeks. I started wondering if he was reading it slowly, or if he just wanted a reason to come back. The night he returned it, the air was warm with that heavy summer stillness that makes your skin feel kissed by heat. I had just come out of a long bath, wrapped in a robe, hair damp, candlelight flickering on the mantel. I wasn't expecting company. When I heard the knock, I didn't even hesitate. I pulled open the door, steam curling behind me like a ghost, and there he was. Luke. Tall. Tanned. A little windblown. Holding my book. Hope I didn't interrupt anything, he said, voice low. I stepped aside, letting him in. You know you didn't. The living room felt suddenly too small. He looked around like he was seeing it differently. Not just a neighbor's home, but mine. The place where I spent evenings in solitude. The place where I cried after the divorce. The place where I healed. He walked toward the shelf, running his fingers along the spines like he was brushing against me. This is your heart, isn't it? He asked, nodding toward the books. All right here. I smiled. Maybe a few pieces of it. He turned toward me then, eyes darker than usual, voice softer. Can I tell you something? Of course. I've read that book before, he said, lifting persuasion slightly. I didn't need to borrow it. My breath caught. Then why did you? He shrugged, a quiet grin spreading across his face. Because I wanted a reason to knock on your door. His confession lingered in the room like incense, sweet, strange, and slow burning. I wasn't prepared for it. Or maybe, deep down, I had been waiting for him to say it all along. You wanted a reason to knock on my door, I repeated softly. Luke took a step closer, leaving barely a breath between us. I could smell the faint scent of his cologne, something crisp, masculine, with a whisper of cedar. I like talking to you, he said. I like the way you think. The way you laugh. And I like that you see me. Not as a kid. Not as someone passing time. But as a man. His words cracked something open inside me. A part of myself I had pushed down for too long, the part that still wanted to be seen, desired, touched. You are a man, I said, almost without meaning to. I noticed that a long time ago. That admission felt dangerous. Like standing at the edge of something deep and unknown. His voice dropped. Then why do you keep pretending we're just neighbors? I looked at him, really looked, and realized I didn't have an answer. Because in that moment, he wasn't just the boy from next door. He wasn't just a curious reader or a polite young man. He was someone who had watched me, listened to me, learned me. He was someone who made me feel wanted. And God, I had missed that feeling. I don't want to cross a line, I said, though my body betrayed me by leaning slightly closer. Luke's gaze dropped to my mouth. I think we already did. He wasn't wrong. The air between us pulsed with something unspoken but undeniable. And when he finally reached out, brushing a damp strand of hair behind my ear, my skin lit up like it had been waiting for that single touch all day. I think about you, he whispered, voice hoarse. More than I probably should. I didn't reply. I couldn't. Instead, I reached up, letting my fingers rest against his chest, feeling the thud of his heart under his shirt. Solid. Real. I felt invisible for a long time, I said quietly. You make me feel seen again. His eyes softened. You were never invisible. Not to me. And then he kissed me. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't reckless. It was tender, reverent even, like he understood what that moment meant to me. And as my fingers curled into his shirt, pulling him closer, I realized something I hadn't in years. I still had the capacity to be moved. To be wanted. To want back. We moved through the house like a slow current, hands grazing over skin, lips brushing over old fears. I wasn't thinking about age. Or judgment. Or the what-ifs. I was thinking about his hands sliding along my waist. The way his breath caught when I touched the back of his neck. The way his body responded to mine, like we were speaking in a language older than time. The living room light glowed dimly, casting golden shadows as we sank onto the couch. The book he'd returned lay forgotten on the table, its pages gently fluttering with the night breeze through the window. Our clothes came off piece by piece, not in haste but in reverence, as if each layer peeled back something deeper. Luke kissed me like he meant it. Like he had been waiting for it. Like he knew I needed it more than I'd ever admit out loud. And when his hands explored my body, every curve, every scar, every soft place time had etched into me, I didn't feel self-conscious. I felt powerful. Beautiful. Alive. Later, wrapped in each other's arms, the silence was rich, not awkward or filled with questions. Just full. He traced lazy circles on my bare shoulder, and I leaned into him, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing. I didn't mean to fall for you, he murmured. But I did. I swallowed. My throat tight. You didn't just take back a book tonight. He smiled, a crooked, sleepy grin. No. I took something else. I turned to face him. My heart? Maybe. But I think you gave me that a little at a time, every time I came to borrow a book. I laughed softly and kissed the space just beneath his collarbone. That night, he didn't leave. And when I woke up in the morning, tangled in the sheets, the sunlight tracing lines across our bare skin, he was there. Smiling. Watching me like I was a story he never wanted to end.